Hey there. Happy Monday. Can you believe that we are on day 20 of the Earth Month Repurposed Art Challenge? Yeah, we are 2/3 of the way through. How crazy is this? Well, I wanted to catch you up on what I did this weekend with the challenge. So I didn't go live because it was just too crazy. I had too many things going on, but I did make my prompts. So this is self-heal, and I actually have it growing all over the lawn in the backyard right now. It's much smaller than this. This is not what it looks like, but this is my interpretation of it. So I took green straws that I had a whole bunch of. I cut them into small sections and I sort of tried to stitch them on in this pine cone type of shape. And then the little purple flowers, I just took I took plastic netting and I stitched little bits of it on, and then I took the time to actually stretch them. So I'm actually doing that right now. I'm grabbing the plastic netting and I'm sort of like just stretching the top of it. You know, when you stretch the plastic netting, it does not stretch back as much. Like it doesn't fully shrink back when you stretch it. So you can fan things out and create these little flower type effects. It does, stretch back somewhat, but not fully. So this was my self-heal. Yeah, it's a fun plant. It's such a good plant. Apparently you can even put it in your salad. So that was my interpretation of that. And then this is my Wild Plantain. I have to admit, this unassuming plant is one of my all-time favorites. Like, I remember growing up and being told by my grandmother, like, this is plantain. It's good for you. If you have like a wound, you take a leaf and you put it on the wound and it makes it feel better. I at first envisioned doing 3 stalks. It usually grows to more than 1 stalk, but it took a long time. So I only made 1 stalk. So this stalk is a straw onto which I put, here it is. This is from feta cheese. I had a green lid and I cut off the rim of the lid and I cut it into these little squares and I stitched the squares onto the top of the straw. Trying to simulate the bumpy seed-like bits that are on top of a stalk. And that took a long time. So I fizzled out and I only made 1. And then I cut the leaves from, this is a coffee bag, and this is a little bean thicker plastic bag. So I cut the big leaves. So this one is really actually coming off the lid quite a bit. And I'm kind of pleased with it. I think it's fun. So, and now I'm caught up. And now for today's prompt, which is St. John's Wort. Here it is. Here's my little St. John's Wort. So I actually have a personal memory with it, about it. My mother was insisted on growing St. John's Wort at our house in Queens when we lived there. She had it in the backyard. I remember it grew quite robustly. It was everywhere. And those teeny like clusters and clusters of those little white flowers, they were sort of fuzzy. And I think you were supposed to like make tea out of it, or dry it, and make a poultice out of it. I remember her doing it because it was such a medicinal plant, but I don't remember her actually doing anything with the plant that we had growing. But it was such a mass of yellow flowers. It was really quite lovely. So what I did to prepare for this, so that I don't take up too much time, is, I don't know if you remember, I was doing, it was just earlier in the week, I was doing ragwort, and I cut off these yellow plastic lids. I cut off the rims from the yellow plastic lids to use for those petals. And those are bigger flowers. These are smaller flowers. So I took those lids and I drew a bunch of 5-petaled flowers on them and one 6-petal, which I didn't cut out. And I cut them out. So I have a whole bunch of these little 5-petal flowers cut out here. Here they are. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm talking about today's prompt, which is St. John's wort. So that's the prompt for today's Repurposed Art, Earth Month Repurposed Art Challenge. So I cut out a whole bunch of these flowers and I'm going to stitch them onto the lid. I have run out of the yogurt lids. So I have this clear plastic lid. It feels like a slightly different plastic than the yogurt lids I've been using. But I think I shouldn't have any problem stitching through it. Anyhow, so the St. John's wort flowers, they're small and they're in a little bunch. So I'm going to stitch these on here. But they're also, they're kind of fuzzy flowers. So I've cut up plastic netting, a whole bunch of it, into these small rectangle squares or whatever. So I'm going to stitch on a little bit of it on the top of every flower. I haven't decided, should I kind of stitch it on in a clump or should I try to sort of stitch it on as just the flat thing? I don't know. Let's see. We'll figure it out as I go. So I have a yellow thread. It's kind of a different yellow thread, but I think it'll make a nice contrast for the center of the flower. So I'm first just pushing it right through the lid. And then I'm going to push my needle right through the center of the cut out little flowers. And I think I'm going to stitch on the little flower first and then take another stitch for the mesh. Maybe not. Maybe I could do it all at once. What would it be like to actually just, do it all at once? I think I can. And let's see what happens. I can always come back and trim the mesh so that it's it does what I want it to do, which is just to add the fuzziness to the flower. So let's see, can I do this without tangling it? Oh, I think I've gotten tangled already. First flower, I have gotten tangled, but maybe not. Let's see, can I do this? If I just twist it the right way. Oh, I did it. I think I'm just going to stitch it on in a clump. I think that looks good. Okay, so I'm just going to push right through and stitch the next flower right on. So they kind of come in these little clumps. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm just going to go with the clumpy bits. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to push back through the same flower again and then back next to the hole. Okay, the whole key is to not get too tangled up. That's my hope. I did it, but this one, the plastic mesh, is not as centered. Can I just move it with my fingers? I think I can. Okay, I just moved it with my fingers. So here we go. Fuzzy little flowers. I'm just going to continue stitching each one at a time with a clump of plastic mesh over it. I counted them. I cut out 11 little flowers. I think that should be enough to fill this space. I can always cut a few more. I drew out a whole bunch more. I was going to cut them without drawing them first, but then I just realized that I would be setting myself up for mistakes. So I said, all right, I'm going to prepare for this and cut and draw the flowers ahead of time. And I'm glad I did. It just makes it a little easier. I didn't cut exactly on the line. Oops, I just pushed a hole through this. All right, bigger stitch. I sort of cut, I just wanted to make sure that I cut it just inside my black lines, because I just did it with a, you know, like a Sharpie, kind of a fine Sharpie. And I wanted to make sure that I was cutting it just outside the black lines, because I did not want to have the black lines in with me. So I have tangled my thread. This is me tangling my thread, making a big mess on an Instagram live, so you can all see my mistakes. We all tangle our thread. It happens. Trying to smooth it out. See, I may have to cut the end of it off if it keeps tangling on me. So I actually like to, when I start embroidery, I like to run my fingers on the thread and sort of just smooth any kinks out of it. And I totally didn't do that before starting this stitching project. So that's what I get for not doing the things that work when I usually do this. Okay, so taking a stitch, pushing my plastic bit down. All right, so let's hope for less of a tangle this time. Can I do this? Oh, I did it. I did it. Okay, keep it going. Stitching on my cluster of little yellow ragwort. No, sorry, St. John's wort. I can get my warts correctly. Oh, these warts, I tell you. Yeah, I get, you think I would know, after a few years of hosting this, you think I'd know my flowers, but no. Nope. They all get jumbled in my mind. And I suppose that's fine. It would not be fine if I was if I was teaching you gardening lessons. That wouldn't work so well. But because gardening is not what I teach, just making art from trash. So I think it's going to be okay. So I'm just stitching on these little guys, and I'm taking a little clump of plastic mesh that I'm stitching in the center of my flower. And I'm just going to let it be whatever it does, because I don't, it just adds to the fuzziness of the flower. That's all I want it to do. So we are having ridiculous weather. I don't know if you remember, if those of you who were on my live on Friday, I was dying here, sitting in a t-shirt. Sweat was pouring down my face. Today, it's chilly because they've turned off the heat. Last week I was hoping they would turn on the AC, but they've turned off the heat, and it's colder today. You can't win, but that's okay. I'm fine with it. I'd rather have it too cold than too hot, any time of the day, any time of the year. So here we go. I'm going to show you how this is going. It's coming together. Oops. And let's see if I can keep it from getting tangled. So here are my St. John's worts. I'm pretty happy. The fuzziness level is, I think, just right. I like it. And I don't mind that the thread is being shown from the back, that you can see it. It kind of adds to the whole fuzzy look of it. So I should remind you all that this week is the last week of the Repurposer Collective second annual exhibit. It's on view right now at MAPSpace Gallery, which is right over there, very close to my studio. But this is the last week. So if you are in the Port Chester area, if you are not far from Westchester, New York, and you want to come and see it in person, you can either come on Saturday, April 25th. That's the last scheduled open hours that we have. It'll be open from noon until 4 p.m. Or if that timing doesn't work for you, you can just send me a DM and let me know what your schedule is like, and I'll figure it out with my schedule, and we can set up a time for a private viewing of the exhibit. So I really, I want to do everything I can to get everybody to see this exhibit before it closes, because I might be a little biased, but it's a wonderful, wonderful exhibit. The work on view is just incredible. And for anyone out there who is actually interested in buying art as well, it is all for sale as well. Not all of it. Most of it is for sale. So I hope that if you're in the area, you'll come and see it on Saturday, or take the time and make an appointment with me to come see it when it's more convenient for you. It's a fabulous exhibit. I think it's better than our first annual exhibit, but that's what happens with exhibits. Each one gets better and better. So, but here we are, almost done with the Earth Month Repurposed Art Challenge. I keep saying, you'd think by now I'd be saying all the right words, but no, I keep making mistakes. But yeah, here we are. It's almost done. We are at the end, the last 10 days. Here we go. This is almost done. How quickly April is flying by. So I'm going to try to go live as often as I can during the next few days, but I have to admit I have a lot on my schedule, so I might be missing a few more lives. I'm sorry. But I will catch up with as much as possible when I can. All right, I'm stitching on my last flower. I'm taking my last clump of yellow plastic netting, and I think this one is pretty successful. The fuzziness is good. The little flowers, they kind of are just in these little clumps growing on the greenery. I'm skipping out on the greenery. I'm just doing the flowers themselves. I think next time, if we do flowers again for this challenge, I really need to pay attention to the color flowers that I'm doing, because yes, we have a lot of yellow and purple and blues, but that's what happens. A lot of flowers are yellow and purple and blue. So here is my St. John's wort. Little 5-petal flowers, all clustery and fuzzy. That's my variation on it. So I hope you're still participating. Those of you participating, don't forget to tag me when you post your flowers so I can see them as well and share them as well. All right, we're 2/3 of the way through. April is just flying by. Thanks for being here, and thanks for participating in the Earth Month Repurposed Art Challenge. See you next time, tomorrow.